once they've got the goal, they've got to try and keep the pressure on, and that means in situations like this, get quality in the box.
Rangers don't surrender 2-goal leads, do they? Harris, Bundy.
Thomson! The captain comes calling in Hampden Park, and unbelievably, Queen of the South will level 7 minutes into the second half, and there's joy at Hampden, there's joy in Dumfries. But it's absolutely incredible.
24th of May 2008, a date Queen of the South fans will never forget. This man, Jim Thomson, captained their side to their first ever Scottish Cup final. We sat down with Jim to reflect back on his illustrious Queen's career. But first, where did it all begin for Big JT?
Good question. I was brought up in a small town called Kilsyth. I was born in Stirling, brought up in Kilsyth, and I played with a local boys club called Kilsyth St Pat's. The reason being, my friends played with them, so it ended up, we didn't win a game the full season. We drew one game, ended up with 1 point and finished bottom of the league. But then another local team called Campsie Black Watch, under 21s, asked me to go on trial, and I went trial with them, and they offered me a contract. So it ended up, I signed with them, and I was only there a year, and I was on trial with quite a number of clubs, and I ended up, I chose Clyde, because I thought I had the best chance of probably getting a game.
Palmerston Park has always been a happy hunting ground for Jim, as he scored his first ever professional goal at Palmerston Park.
It was against Queen's, yes, and fortunately enough, well, for the Clyde team at that time, we ended up, we won the second division championship at Palmerston. I think it was 1993, 93 season, so we got promoted there.
Jim left Clyde to join Stenhousemuir, but after only a few appearances, JT decided to sign for the Doonhamers. Jim shared his thoughts on an eventful debut for the South.
It was quite ironic because they had said they had signed myself to plug the leaky defence, and we played, my first game was at Clifton Hill against Hamilton Accies, who shared with Albion Rovers at the time, and we ended up getting beat 6-1. So I didn't do a very good job of plugging it.
Well, not your fault, not your fault though.
No.
Was that the debut?
That was my debut, yes.
Good one to remember.
Oh, yes, it was.
The defender left Queen's after 77 games in a 3-season spell. But why did he decide to leave?
Well, I didn't really want to move. It just different things stipulate what happens with football players, and I think the club were going through a wee bit of transition in regards to a new manager coming in, and wage structure. Not that I'm a money grabber, but when you're playing part time, unfortunately it was going to probably end up costing me money to play down here, because we used to come down twice a week. So I went on to Pastors New, to Arbroath, and I played with them for 2 seasons, and then obviously signed back with Queen's in John Connolly era in 2001.
Was John Connolly one of the main reasons why you wanted to come back to Queen's?
Yeah, I didn't really want to leave Queen's in the first instance, because they were very good to me. So I didn't really want to leave, but sometimes circumstances dictate, and they always said to me, don't go back, never go back to a team that you've played with, so it's never the same. Too right, it's never been, so it was more successful second time round.
And successful Jim was, as in the first season back he captained the side to the 2001-2002 Second Division Championship. But what did attract Jim back to Palmerston?
But what attracted me was the club. It was the club itself. Obviously Ronnie Bradford was the chairman at the time, and John Connolly being the manager. I think I'd spoke to him after my contract was finished at Arbroath, and he explained what his philosophy was, and I think that kind of sold me. So we ended up winning the Second Division Championship and getting into the first. So it was a fabulous team. I mean, the team we had built there we probably underachieved at times for the players we had, but fantastic team, fantastic memories, and feel very, very privileged to be part of it. Brilliant to lift trophies, because that's what you really play football for, to be successful and to win games and to win trophies and medals. So I've been very privileged to play with. I've got a lot of good teams because I had limited ability, unfortunately, myself, but I had certain qualities that benefited the team and fitted quite well into the structures of teams. So.
In campaign, Jim lifted another trophy, this time the Bells Challenge Cup, after defeating Brecon City 2-0 at Broadwood. Current Queen striker Derek Lyle got on the score sheet that day, but how is Derek Lyle still managing to play 14 years later?
Well, he's 35 now, so again I think he's matured with age as well, so he's starting to think more about the game. He's probably a yard slower than he was, but he looks after himself, he trains hard, works hard away from training in regards to keeping himself fit. I think that's the biggest thing, because I played probably the position I played helped me play for so long, and I played till I was 39, 40.
Jim has been involved in a few great escapes and has scored some vital goals, but with Queens going full time, it seemed they turned the corner.
And I think that was down to the way League One was actually the part-time element was actually going out of the league there. So I think the club sailed close to the wind a couple of times, and then they had to make a decision one way or the other whether they stay part-time and obviously dice with the bottom of the table, or else and it's a massive decision to go full-time. Yep. And fortunately enough, it paid off. They actually did do that, and they went full-time in 2005. Believe it or not, well, it was kind of full-time, part-time.
It was a mix, was it a mix of players?
A wee bit of a mix, yeah. And I wasn't good enough to play full-time football, but I ended up going full-time when I was about 35. So, and I have the club to thank for that, for giving me the chance to go full-time. And it's a fabulous thing to
it's a dream.
Have a job, and it's not like a job, it's having something that you love doing and actually getting paid for it is quite unique.
The 2007-2008 season is a campaign that all Queens fans remember as they reached the final of the Scottish Cup. And their cup run started at Balmuir Stadium as they defeated Peterhead 5-0. But did Jim and the team think they'd get to the final after that victory?
No, I don't think you do. I mean, it ended up I gave a penalty away in that game actually. 5-1? The Peterhead game. But to go up there in such a terrible day, it just shows you what major qualities that team had. To be against the likes of Peterhead at Peterhead, which is a difficult venue at the best of times, and the way I think we applied ourselves and went about our job that day, I think after that there was a wee bit of belief in regards to we don't concede a lot of goals, but we seem to score quite a number of goals.
That's when Dobby and Sean O'Connor was around popping in with 3 or 4.
Two fabulous strikers.
Probably the best you've seen in Queen's colours?
Oh, definitely. I mean, Sean O'Connor, I played against him out there in my 6-5 game, which was probably one of the most memorable games for me, because it was the game probably shouldn't have went on, but I'm glad it did. It was such an exciting game for the neutral, that he done really well that night. He's a big, strong beast of a boy, and as I say, he'd been an asset to any team. Unfortunately, his fitness in regards to injury and stuff hampered him in that respect. And then you've got Stephen Dobie, probably one of the best natural finishers I've ever seen in the time I've played professional football.
In the 4th round, Queens eased past Linlithgow Rose, and with Jim Thomson getting the second goal in a 4-0 win, it looked like Queens were on easy streets. But Jim insists it was a match they were wary of.
Potential banana skin as well. If you play against any, you're always wary of underdogs, and cup upsets. They have nothing to lose, and we have everything to lose. So that was a difficult game, but I think the manager went about things well in respect to you go about your jobs on the pitch in a professional way, and you don't disrespect your opponents. And we did do that. We gave them the utmost respect, but once we were on the park, we applied ourselves in the right manner, and fortunately enough came out comfortable winners, I think.
Next up was a trip to Capello, and Queens continued to impress as they ran out 2-0 winners thanks to second half strikes from Sean O'Connor and John Stewart. Jim believes that the great record at Capello is one of the reasons they won the match.
We've always had a decent record at Capello, so again I think going to the grounds you're more positive and upbeat if you have had a good record at Capello. And I think again it was a battle, but we ran out comfortably. We never looked although we were going to lose the game. I think that was the thing. And then it just gathers momentum, and then obviously having Dundee in the quarter-finals out there, and Ryan McCann hitting one for 84 yards and such an absolute brilliant strike to put it right in the centre of the goals. It wasn't just offset, it was right in the centre. It's such a memorable and fitting way to remember a Scottish Cup quarter-final.
The Doonhamers were in their first semi-final since the 1950s. They were drawn against Jimmy Calderwood's Aberdeen as they knocked out Celtic in the quarter-final stage of the competition. I asked Jim when the draw was made, did he believe that Queens had a chance to make the final?
Well, I always thought that we had a chance against Aberdeen when the draw was made. I always thought we had a massive opportunity to beat Aberdeen, depending on what Aberdeen teams showed up, because they were so inconsistent that season.
Did they beat Celtic?
Yes, yep, they beat Celtic in the quarters, but their league form had been very inconsistent. And I had watched a couple of their games and looked at their games, and I just thought, with the players we had, the arrogance of some of our players like Stevie Tosh playing against his old club, and that's not been disrespectful to Stevie. I mean, he was so arrogant on the pitch that he always thought he was the best player on the pitch.
But they're the kind of players that you kind of need at the end point.
Totally, and demanded high standards. I think that was the biggest thing from our team.
It was game time, and it turned out to be one of the most memorable matches in Queen of the South history, as they defeated Aberdeen 4-3 in the semi-final. But Jim admits he was feeling the nerves before the match.
Well, it's understandable. We're at the National Stadium playing a Scottish Cup semi-final, so if you're not nervous, I don't know when you would be in trouble. I don't know how many were there, was it 20 odd thousand? So again, once we settled into the game, and we got a goal Stevie Tosh scored, as I say, it kind of settled us down a bit.
And then Aberdeen, as you said, Aberdeen kept coming back. I think Barry Nicholson, Andrew Considine got 2.
Yes.
It was like, were you thinking, when am I getting my goal?
Yeah, I didn't get a goal personally, but I flicked one on for John Stewart at the end. But listen, I think every single player in that team, as they did do throughout the season and the cup games, they didn't leave anything on the pitch. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but most of the time, as I say, it worked. And
what was your favourite memory from the semi-final?
Sean O'Connor jumping on the shoulders of John Stewart. I don't know how Budgie's legs actually held the actual weight of Sean O'Connor. So probably that one. And then just the players collapsing in a heap at the end of it, because we went probably 30 minutes sitting at 4-3, and it's such a massive effort mentally and physically against obviously the likes of a Premier League club. So the semi-final and the final is the most exhausted I think I've ever been, mentally and obviously physically, as I said before. And I don't think the players, we had a couple of beers and I think that was it. That was a bit of whack, yep. So it is draining.
Jim Thomson made Queen of the South history, as he is the first and only man to have captained the side to a Scottish Cup final. The Doonhamers had a long layoff as their last competitive match was a month earlier. And it showed, as Queens fell 2 goals behind to Rangers at half-time. And Jim thinks it was the month off that caused the problem.
I think that was lack of game time.
Yeah, because of the month break,
Yes.
basically, and Rangers, they might have been tired, but they still had match fitness as well. Going down 2-0 at half time, what did Gordon Chisholm say at half time?
Well, quite a few people asked that, and he didn't actually go off his head. He just said, listen, we've not turned up, but the next goal is massive. Whoever scores the next goal, you could be on to, if Rangers score the next goal, you could be on to a 4 or 5-0 drubbing. But if we score the next goal, and we'll have to score it quite early, you'll see a change in respect to the game. And obviously that's what happened.
Stevie Tosh scoring with
50 minutes, I think.
scoring with some part of his body.
Yes. Yeah,
And,
his midriff, by all accounts.
And of course your equalising goal from Bob Harris' delivery.
It was such a good delivery. I mean, Bob's personifies in regards to how a left-footed player should deliver balls into the box and for corners and set pieces and stuff. You just have to look at the free kick he scored in the European UEFA Cup. So again, great delivery. I knew I had an idea of where he was going to put it, and I think I had 3 Rangers players around me, but I just managed to, a wee bit of movement, you just have to get yourself a yard, and to say the flight of the ball was perfect, so I just managed to get my head on.
Jim's header sent the Queen's fans ballistic, and I asked him how did it feel to score an equalising goal at Hampden.
Yeah, effing beauty, so yeah, if you can lip read it. But listen, I think the moment the ball came in, the delivery was in, and I made the movement towards it, I think I was always going to be favourite to get my head on it. And usually if I get my head on it, I'm quite accurate. That was one thing with my header, so as I say, fortunately enough, it went in.
After equalising, Queens had Rangers rocked, and for 15 minutes they looked the most likely to take the lead. But Chris Boy's header late on eluded Queens of a fairy tale ending. But Jim Thomson says the experience of playing in a national final was one he'd never forget.
The first Scottish Cup final, and be part of that, and for the club to be part of that. But don't get me wrong, the club's had a massive amount of success over the last 10 to 16 years now. And I think I think players that come here now, there's expectations not just with fans, but with players now. They're actually signing with Queens because they know what we've done in the past, and I think that's a remarkable turnaround from where the club were at a number of years ago to where they are now. And we're staying at the Cairndale, I think, and Stevie Tosh was saying how many is going to be for this open bus because we had get beat in the final, and Stevie Tosh, I said, probably a couple of thousand. I was probably about 14 out, which was gave us a wee bit of respite for defeat. But I could just imagine if we won it. So.
If defeat in the Scottish Cup final was something of a disappointment, the prospect of playing European football drew excitement around Dumfries. Queens were drawn to face FC Nordsjælland, but Queens had to play their home leg at Airdrie as Palmerston failed to make a UEFA criteria. Queens lost 2-1, but Jim believes if the game was at Palmerston, it would have been a different outcome.
We would have beat them at Palmerston. I think we would have beat them. I think it was a hindrance to our UEFA Cup ventures in regards to playing it at New Broomfield. I think it was Excelsior, is it?
I think it was New Broomfield.
So it ended up, I think it was a bit of a hindrance, and then it was a waterlogged pitch. So again, the game probably shouldn't have went ahead. So unfortunately we ran out 2-1 losers in that game, and it's a massive ask to go away from home and score potentially two goals.
Queens travelled to Denmark for the second leg and were followed by nearly 1,000 Doonhamers. But did Jim Thomson ever believe he'd play European football?
37, pushing 38 years of age, and I never ever thought that, never mind get to a Scottish Cup final and win leagues, that I would actually play in Europe or have the chance to play in Europe. And I don't think, I was so proud to be captain of the club at that time. So great group of players again, fantastic achievement. I get goosebumps every time I mention Queen of the South in Europe. So
Queens had to overturn a 2-1 deficit, and they got off to a perfect start as Bob Harris fired home a fantastic free kick with a minute on the clock. But what did Jim think when Bob scored?
I thought game on, but then you have to be very, very cautious from a certain time frame from scoring that goal that you don't concede. We didn't, but then there's got to be a part in the game where you've got to one goal's not going to be enough. So I mean you've got to do a final push and try and get another goal or another couple of goals. But unfortunately we get caught in the counter attack a couple of times. So, but I would rather go out like that than not giving it a go. I'm so proud of the supporters at this club because they support the club through thick and thin. And I mean it's great for them to be rewarded in regards to cup finals, winning leagues and playing in Europe for all their hard effort, the money they pay to go to Copenhagen and the money they pay every week to come and watch the club. So Dumfries and Galloway people as a whole I have the utmost respect for in regards to supporters wise because they pay their money every week whether the product in the pitch is good or bad and they keep coming back for more.
After retiring, Jim has remained at Queen of the South and has had several roles at the club.
Well, I deliver the community development which involves going into schools, delivering to schools in regards to using football as a vehicle to deliver certain messages and get kids involved in physical activity. The football's the least important part, but then possibly to get them affiliated with the club. And then obviously me and my wife look after the commercial duties with the club as well, and myself and Eddie look after the under-20s. So
you've got a lot going on.
Plenty going on, yes, but I'm very, very fortunate and very thankful that I've still got an actual job in football because there aren't many jobs in Scottish football at the moment. So, and hopefully give something back to the club and something back to the community.
After over 350 appearances for Queens and many memorable moments, Jim Thomson's name will always be familiar around Palmerston Park.
Just turn around.
Even though his playing career is over, Jim Thomson remains the heart and soul of Queen of the South.